Thank you, members of the public, for showing up. We have, I guess, one or two overflow rooms. I hope you can hear the testimony today. Just in terms of introduction, we're hearing two bills today, House File 241 and 242 by Representative Hausman. We're going to allow 30 minutes for proponents of the bill and 30 minutes for opponents of the bill. These are people who have signed up to speak specifically on this bill. I know that a lot of you would like to testify on the bill, and we will. I know this is going to be an inconvenience for some people, but we will have committee time available Thursday after session, which should be around 6 o'clock, for people who want to testify on the bill. We simply don't have time because we have to be out of this room by noon, and we want to give the proponents and opponents to an opportunity to speak on this bill. Just wanted to say, for those of you who haven't attended the hearings yesterday, we've had very respectful hearings. We know this is an emotional issue. It's a complex issue, and I would just ask that members be polite in your questioning of members of the public, even if you disagree with what they're saying, or proponents of the bill or opponents of the bill. This is an opportunity for us to have a discussion, a dialogue on this issue, and hopefully find some solutions and come up with a bill later on this month. So that's sort of my ground rules. Representative Cornish, who's the lead on this committee, has been helpful in trying to maintain that atmosphere in this committee. He and I have strong opinions on the issue, but relative to the committee process, we're of the same mind that we need to have a respectful discussion. So with that, I also want to say that some members have to leave, and usually we go until 11:30. We have this room until noon, so if you have to leave, you'll just have to leave. So with that, all of these bills will not be voted on today. They will be laid over for possible inclusion in a larger omnibus gun violence prevention bill. There's no amendments to these bills, and we're here to learn more about the content. So with that, Representative Hausman, welcome to the committee. The chair will move House File 241 for you, and it will be the intention of the chair to lay that bill over. Welcome to the committee, Representative Hausman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know yesterday you talked a little bit about statistics, but I think it helps to frame the issue again by talking about those. I think we have statistics for both gun deaths and gun homicides, and I believe yesterday you used the number 30,000 people are killed by firearms each year. More than 30 are shot and murdered each day. 1/3 of them are under the age of 20. And then, just to put us in the context of the world, and these are gun homicides, the averages annually. Less than 50 in Japan, less than 150 in Germany, Italy, France, other European countries, less than 200 in Canada, and more than 10,000 in the United States. And just given the events of the last few years, it's a time then for us as policymakers to look at that and ask questions and think about ideas and try to see if there's a way through. Are there issues that should be dealt with? What separates us? Why are we an outlier in the world? Are we more evil? Are we more hateful? Are we more angry? Do we have a higher level of mental illness? I think none of those things are true. I think we are, like everyone in the world, for the most part, pursuing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and a healthy life. But there is one component that sets us apart, and it's a sentence. The Second Amendment. I've heard from a lot of people in the last few days about that. And I wanted to just speak that sentence for a minute. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That first part of the sentence is one we don't hear very often. The one frequently repeated are those last few words, shall not be infringed. But the first part of it, and this is what will weigh heavily on you, what does that mean, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state? It is, at least in part, I think, one of the frames that will have to happen for you. And there are a number of people, you've probably heard from many, and I have, who have suggested we don't have a right to have this conversation today, that the basis of the bills and the discussion are unconstitutional. And I thought it would be important to at least reference the decisions and some quotes. One from Justice Antonin Scalia. Like most rights, the Second Amendment right is not unlimited. It is not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever, and for whatever purpose. And then Justice Alito later, the first one was the Heller decision, and then Justice Alito in the McDonnell decision, we made it clear in Heller that our holding did not cast doubt on such long-standing regulatory measures as prohibitions on the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, laws forbidding the carrying of firearms in sensitive places such as schools and government buildings, or laws imposing conditions and qualifications on the commercial sale of arms. We repeat those assurances here. So two people reflected on that. And I think those are the kinds of questions, as your committee looks at all of the bills, you look at the entire sentence, you look at some of the advice that you've been given. Now, the Supreme Court didn't help you out. They didn't tell you how to do this. And so the work of this committee is going to be very difficult. But I think because we've all heard from so many people, I think just reflecting on some of the themes would be helpful. One of them referred to the Second Amendment. He said, I just wanted you to see that Second Amendment again and understand what it means, especially the part after the comma. But there's the problem. We can't just look at the part after the comma. We have to look at the part before the comma, that well-regulated militia. And so I think as people talk to us about this, we hear other themes, and here's one. When it comes to the Second Amendment, the drafters of our Bill of Rights understood that in order to guard against a tyrannical government, that all men, especially those between 19 and 45, should have weapons at least as effective as any future potentially tyrannical government might possess, in order to bring that government under control. That's moving in another direction in this discussion. Seeing that much in that sentence, that it specifically, they even name ages of people. We've become sort of caught in a culture about that sentence, and we see many different things in it. Some have said that that it's an unconstitutional bill and that I am guilty of treason because I bring it forward. Others suggest that, in fact, an author of this bill would be the terrorist. And the emotions are strong around that. The bloodshed that will result in this war against our Constitution will be on your hands. If anyone comes to take our guns away for an unconstitutional law, there will be a war. There will be bloodshed, and bloodshed will be on your hands. This is not a threat from me, but my opinion on what will happen if an unconstitutional bill is passed into law. I'm sharing the views of people who have reflected on these bills as a way of setting a context for the discussion that you will have. After the 9/11 event, our country changed, and all of us gave up a little freedom. None of us had the freedom to just walk through an airport as we might have. We all sort of had to prove that we were safe before we could move through. It was a very different time. And except for maybe a little grumbling, I think we all realized why we were giving up a little bit of freedom, because something had happened. And this was how we were responding in order to have that safety. There was not a revolt, maybe grumbling, but no revolt. I took my granddaughters to the movie over Christmas vacation. And on the way to the car after the movie, my granddaughter said, all the time through the movie, whenever somebody was moving through the theater, I thought they were a shooter. And she said, but I didn't tell you, because I thought if I told you what I was thinking, then you'd start thinking about it too. This was a granddaughter reflecting on an experience. And that is part of, I think, what brings us here and opens our minds to look at a number of options. Because those children live in a very different world than we did. They process what should be a lighthearted evening in a very different way. So how can the world feel safer for her? Some think more guns will bring us to that safety, and others fear that kind of world. Mr. Chair, as sometimes happens, long before this hearing was scheduled, I agreed to speak to, I'm the opening speaker at the Ordway for a group of school children at 10:30. And so I'm going to leave for a little while. Heather Martin is going to suggest the kind of parameters of the bill, and I think has some further opening statements setting the context. And as soon as I fulfill my obligations down there.
Representative Hausman, will you be back for 241?
I believe
242?
I believe this will be a relatively brief visit.
Okay. Is Representative Slocum, is she here? Just trying to get someone to, we can probably go ahead with the bill if you're not here, but let's proceed. Thank you, Representative
And I'm
Hausman.
assuming that she will go through the bill. We do, by the way, you said no amendments. We do, Representative Mullery and others have suggested some changes, and I think a few people will speak to some of those suggested changes, but I heard you say you didn't really want to reshape the bill this
Anything
morning.
that's substantive, we're not going to take.
Yeah. So I think some people will speak to.
Very good. Thank you, Representative Hausman. The first testifier